Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome into our monthly Q&A. My name is Chris Freytag. You guys know that. I've got the lovely Samantha Cameronese with me, otherwise known as Sam Cam.
Yep.
She is our digital content manager and also one of our Get Healthy UTV trainers, always here on the Q&As.
Yeah.
You guys actually did the monthly Q&A without me last month.
We did.
I know Lindsay and Sam did a great job. So if you are joining us and you are new to this, once a month we come live and answer questions. Often we'll have a theme where we, give you guys some ideas of something to talk about. Today, in particular, we're doing something different.
We are.
We're usually sitting down and answering questions, but today we decided that we were going to talk about exercise form, how-tos, help you correct your form, maybe find modifications for exercises or moves that are hard for you and you're wondering what you could do to modify. So I am not behind a table today. I'm going to be demonstrating. Sam might jump in also, depending on what the questions are. But we get a lot of questions from people who say, my knees hurt me or my hips hurt me or lunges are hard for me or I'm trying to perfect this or I'm not sure what a plyometric is or how do you swing a kettlebell or all of those good things. So anything is fair game. And if you want to throw some other question in there, go ahead. We'll try our best to answer.
We'll answer.
We did put this up on Instagram and Facebook yesterday, and we got a boatload of questions.
A ton of them. Great questions, too.
So this is a concept that you guys are interested in. So if we don't have enough time, guess what? We'll do it again. We always have every month of the year, 12 months out of the year, so we got it. So if you are new to to Get Healthy UTV and wondering what it is, let me just tell you a little bit about it. It is my life's passion. I've been making fitness videos for 30 years, which might be too long in some people's books,
No.
but I still love it. We now have a streaming service. It's called Get Healthy UTV, where you can stream workouts on any device, anytime, anywhere. We have over 250 workouts, and we do live workouts every single Monday morning. So if you are a gold member, which is our top echelon of our membership, you get a new workout put in your account every single Monday morning. If you miss it live, it just goes in your account. So that's kind of fun. We also follow calendars together as a group, which really keeps the motivation going, which gives people accountability and an idea of a plan for 28 days. This month, we're following a calendar called Real Results and the Routine Reboot. Next month, we're doing a calendar called LIFT, stands for Low Impact Functional Training. So for those of you who like the low impact, which just means no jumping, it still can be very intense, this calendar is full of really fun workouts. I'm going to show you a few of the workouts that will be included. So you stream it on your phone, your tablet, your computer, your smart TV. This is Kickboxing Hit. I might have to say, this is in my top 3 formats. It is a cardio blaster. This is a low impact core workout where everything was non-jumping, but let me tell you, I was dying on this workout. Jody led it. It was a fun workout. This one right here, Shelly's leading. I want to say this is functional integrated training. This is one of the gold workouts that we do every Monday that you can join us for. Now this is Leah and Sam Cam right here, shaking your booty. A little bit of dance. Was this Dance Jam 2 or 1? I can't remember.
That was the second one.
That was Dance Jam 2. Okay. So we have a little bit of flavor for everybody. This was a hit workout that Lindsay and I did together. Tabata. It was 20 seconds hard, 10 seconds rest, 4 minutes in a row, and we did it for 20 minutes, and that was a really fun workout. So you get a lot of variety in these calendars if you join us every month. So I just wanted to kind of tell you about that. We'll give you a coupon code at the end of this. If you are somebody who says, hey, that sounds kind of fun, I'd like to join, we always give you a deal of $20 for the first year. I know you heard me right, $20 for the first year. And if you enjoy it, we're hoping you'll pay the full price, of course, the second year, which is still cheap. It comes out to be about $11 a month. All right, are we ready to go?
We're even getting more questions.
We are. Okay,
we're
okay.
Rock and roll.
And I brought a ponytail holder, so did Sam. But ladies, on the first day you wash your hair, you try not to put a kink in it. You try not to put a dent in it until at least day 2 or day 3. And we have an event tonight, so I was joking. I said, oh my gosh, Sam, I wash my hair. I'm trying not to dent it so I can look good for one day.
We'll do our best.
All right, so we're ready. What's up?
So a bunch of questions about lunges.
Okay.
Tips for lunges, both forward, reverse. Let's just kind of dive into the lunge.
Let's dive into it. And hey, look at our Instagram post Tomorrow. We're talking about lunges tomorrow.
We are.
Okay, but a lunge is a little different than a squat. I might even say it's a little more difficult than a squat, and let me explain to you. You're gonna take a split stance, okay? You're gonna take a split stance. You want your feet far enough apart that the front knee can track over the top of the ankle or no farther than the top of the toes. The back knee should point down towards the floor, and you are balancing on your back toe. This requires stability because your heel is not down. Now, mistakes I see are when people are trying to keep their heel down and then something funky is happening with your inside knee. The other mistake I see is people too tight of a stance and they're pushing into their front kneecap or their back kneecap. So wide enough where you lower straight down and you think of your knee as the hinge and you let your muscles do the work all the way down, all the way up. All right, so this is a static lunge. Now notice my torso is upright. So you're not leaning forward and back, none of this motion. You keep that head like you're balancing something on it, and you come down and up. Now, variations of lunges. You can do a forward lunge where you load forward. Here's the thing with a forward lunge. People sometimes push too far into that kneecap and then it's too much weight bearing. So make sure you step wide enough where that knee stays over the top of the ankle. This would be your forward lunge. Some people find that easier than reverse lunges, but most people find the reverse lunge to be a little bit easier because you step back and it's a little easier on that front knee, okay? There you go. Side lunge. Step to the side, load that glute on the side, come back up, and you can go right and left. Step to the side, also known as a lateral lunge, come back up. You got to get low enough where you can push in. That knee is tracking over the top of the toes and push that way, all right? And a walking lunge is one of the most effective. I'll get my mat out of the way. Walking lunge is super effective. You basically step, and then you step through and you keep walking. You walk across the floor. These are so effective. Sam, we do these sometimes in class where we walk across the room. You'll really, really feel those. So that's a little bit about it. Any other questions about lunges?
With the lunges, for balancing issues, if you're kind of a little bit wobbly, what can you do for that?
Okay. It requires a lot of balance.
It does.
So when you are lunging, try not to just drop that back heel because you're having trouble. Stay on that toe. Both knees will face in the same direction. Drop that back knee and have a chair next to you. Grab a umbrella and hold it, you know. Grab a broomstick and hold on to it, just so you have a little extra balance and you can feel comfortable. As your quads and hamstrings and glutes and inner thighs get stronger, you are going to be able to let go, and you are using a ton of core. So lunges really use your stabilizers in your core, and they really hit all of the leg muscles. When women say to me, oh, I want to tone my inner thighs, I say lunges. Not this exercise, but lunges. They really work the entire thigh.
And I think something that I've noticed with myself doing lunges, if I have more weight on my toe, that's when I lose balance. You want more weight in the heel, right?
In the front foot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, don't overload that front leg. Drop straight down.
So a little bit more weight in the heel.
All right, so there's lunge lesson.
Other options for lunges, if that hurts your knees, kind of those.
So a lot of people will say to me, Chris, I can't do lunges. And I say, can you do squats? And they go, yeah, I can. I go, great, do squats. Don't do lunges. Some people, I mean, it depends. You know, I talk to a lot of people in their 50s and 60s who have had like football injuries from when they were younger, or tennis injuries, or whatever it might be. Listen, you're not going to change some of the things that are happening inside there if there was any form of leftover injury or problem from the past. But what you do want to do is things that feel good. So squats, sit back. You've got that weight distributed on both legs, and you're not on your toes. So it's a little easier to balance. And some people find squats easier than lunges. So I see a lot of people in class skipping the lunges and doing squats only. Of course, if you just feel like it's a strength issue, like you're just not strong enough yet, then ease into it. Do a smaller range of motion. Instead of coming all the way down and all the way up, starting to get those muscles to work. And of course, you can always add dumbbells and make it even harder, which we do at Get Healthy UTV.
Yes, we do.
We will always find a way to challenge you. And then, of course, if you really got bad knees, a lot of people have really, sore knees. A glute bridge is a great alternative to any squat or lunge where you lift up here. Okay, so now I'm squeezing my glutes, I'm using my hamstrings and my quads, but I'm not putting weight bearing into those knee joints. So it's a lot easier for you. So I love glute bridges for that reason. I also love anything with the stability ball. We don't have a stability ball in our studio today, but I'm just gonna move my microphone. You can put your feet up on that ball and lift your hips up off the ground and roll the ball in and out, and you will really feel those hamstrings, quads, and glutes, but you won't be putting the pressure on your knees. Of course, you could also do things like take a resistance band around your legs and do leg lifts, anything where the knee joint and the hip joint aren't becoming the hinge. So that's my advice for that.
Great options. We've had quite a few posts about this on Instagram with the kettlebell. Kettlebell deadlifts, kettlebell goblet squats, and kettlebell swings. Can you show us the difference and how to kind of watch the form on those?
Yep, and I think, is my microphone, I don't want to get my arm stuck in it. Can you just tuck it into my shirt?
Yep.
Technical difficulties.
We're good.
I don't want to grab it with my hand. Okay, kettlebells, let's talk about them. We only have a light one right here. All the heavy ones are out of the studio right now, but I'll show you with this. So what's really interesting about a kettlebell is that the horn takes the weight away from the main piece of apparatus. So it's got the swinging motion, which adds a little bit of instability to it. What you want to do is, a kettlebell swing is actually quite different than a squat. So I'll demonstrate the goblet squat, I'll demonstrate the swing, and what was the other one?
Kettlebell deadlift.
Kettlebell deadlift. Okay, so let's talk about a squat. I mean, it's just basically a squat, but you're using the kettlebell and you're holding the either the horns or down here. When I do a goblet squat, they kind of talk about like you're holding a goblet, like think a goblet of water or wine. So you're kind of gripping the bottom, and it's basically a squat. So in a squat, your butt goes towards the floor. You drop down, you always have your hips below your heart below your head. That's a good squat, and then you pick back up. So from the side view, you're dropping down and then powering back up, eyes up, chest up, down, and up. Now you can drop to the handle. Sometimes you go to the handle, grab, press. This would be a squat curl press or a push press with a kettlebell, all right? One of the things about a really good squat, since we're here talking about squats, is the fact that when you come into a squat, similar to a lunge, you want to come down and you want those knees tracking over the toes. You can't keep it over the ankle exactly, or you'd have to have a chair behind you to sit in. But you want to keep them here as opposed to here, okay? And then if I were to have a magic marker, you want to draw a line that goes from your ankle to your knee. It should be the same line as from your hip to your head. So if you look, I can kind of see myself in the monitor. I've got that same angle, ankle to knee, hip to head. So this would not be a really good squat. Look at the angle from my hip to my head versus my knee, right? I look like I'm dumping something off my head. So down, up, squeeze those glutes, down, up. Squats work. Now let's talk about a swing. So kettlebell swing is very much like a deadlift. It is a hip hinge. They're different, but it is a hip hinge. So in a kettlebell swing, what you want to do is make sure, first of all, the handle should never go below the knees, and the shins should stay parallel to the floor, or perpendicular to the floor. So I'm not going to push forward into my knees, but I'm going to keep from my knee to my ankle perpendicular to the floor. You're literally going to grab the horns, and for lack of a better word, you're going to swing it right in your crotch. If the handle goes below the knees, you are actually doing some form of a squat. So you're going to hinge right here, and you're going to swing, and it's all like a deadlift. The power is through the hips. You're going to feel it through the hamstrings and the glutes, the back kinetic chain. So you pick up that kettlebell right here, pick it up, hike it, and then right here. Notice my shin to ankle staying parallel to the floor. Right there. Hinging from my hip, from the front. Right there. You got to breathe. And if you've got a 20 or 25 pound kettlebell,
those work.
Holy moly, it gets your heart rate up, and you feel it all the way through your leg, power through the hip. Now, a deadlift is very similar to a kettlebell swing in some ways, but it's not that power move. It's more of a, so in a squat, your butt goes down. I was saying a deadlift, it's like you're shutting the door with your butt. Nice long spine, glue a yardstick up your back, and you're gonna hinge over. Just tap the door with your butt, slightly soften your knees. You're gonna feel it all here, and then pull back up. So over, pull back up. Over, let that kettlebell drop down, pull back up. Over, now you could do this with dumbbells too, and that is your deadlift. So deadlifts are actually easier on the knees too.
Yes, they're.
As are kettlebell swings. So both of those are actually good for people with knee issues.
Yeah. Good. That covers those ones. We're going to just we have somebody coming in live with a question.
Okay.
Not so much a form question, but talking about low impact as a senior is super important for her. She's also asthmatic, exercise induced.
Okay.
So aerobic in many of the routines is often way too high intensity for her.
Okay.
What can she do instead of those exercises at a fast pace to raise your heart but not too high?
Okay, so when you modify, I always say that fitness is synonymous with creativity. You have to get creative with the way you think. Don't get stuck in a box and that you have to copy exactly what the instructor is doing or what your neighbor is doing if you're in a class. Do what works for you. So there are 3 ways that your heart rate are going to get up, or that your heart rate will get up. Number 1 is big range of motion, really big squats versus this. Right?
Yep.
Heart rate's going to go up with a big range of motion. The other thing, your heart rate will go up, hands above the heart. So if we're doing jumping jacks with those hands above the heart, or heel digs with the hands above the heart rate is going to go up. And the third thing that gets your heart rate up is speed. So fast, as fast as you can go. If I want to make that more intense, a lot of times in class, I have people put their hands above their heart because the heart rate's going to get up.
Yep.
And I should mention a 4th thing, jumping. Anytime you add power to a move, instead of just a deep squat, a jump, that's going to get the heart rate up. But low impact does not mean low intensity. So instead of adding the jumping or perhaps the speed, add that range of motion. Get those arms above the heart and you can still keep it intense. If you feel your heart rate getting up too high, keep the hands below the heart. I say it to people all the time. There's a lot of people out there who have told me they have exercise-induced asthma. And as the heart rate gets up, they get a little nervous that they're going to get lightheaded. So if you were doing this exercise, which is low impact, our feet are on the ground, but we're going for big range of motion, but now your heart rate's getting too high, maybe you try this and keep those hands below the heart. And if that's still too much, maybe you keep the range of motion just a little bit smaller. So you have to listen to your body and slow it down if you need to. So anytime you're going to modify, smaller range of motion, slow it down if your heart rate's too high. But if it's a power move, but you're not going to jump, get those arms above the heart. Move a little bit faster. Do a deeper range of motion, and that's going to help you increase the heart rate.
Awesome. Moving on to a little bit of an upper body questions. Wondering about lat raises. Sometimes it looks like instructors are opening a magazine, and other times it looks like it's straight out from your shoulders.
Okay, because those are 2 different moves. Let's
Correct.
talk about it.
So let's talk about the difference.
Okay, so when you are opening up the newspaper or magazine, this is for your back. This is for your back muscles. Some of the rear delts, the back of the shoulder, and those rhomboids and lats that pull into your back. So when we do this, I always cue it not to go too far. You don't want to whip it past your midline because it's going to be really hard on your rotator cuff. You want to control it, pull it to your midline, and pull it back right here. That's going to be that movement. That's for your back. This movement is for your medial deltoid, the top of your shoulder. It's called a lateral raise. It's like you have 2 pitchers of water, and then you dump them out. Squeeze an orange under your armpit. So I always cue them differently.
Yep.
Open up the newspaper, abs are tight. This is for your back. Dump out the water, squeeze the orange. That's for the top of the shoulder. They're 2 different focuses. In terms of weight, I use about the same for both of them. Yeah. Often, like with a row, you can use a heavier weight because your back and your chest are often stronger than the shoulders and the arms.
Yep.
However, this is a hard exercise because you're just using those rhomboids and rear delts right there. So you have to see how the weight works for you.
And sometimes that range of motion can be very different on people too.
Right,
not
especially
arching the back and
if you have had a rotator cuff
Yes.
injury or anything else, don't whip it back there. I always tell people, control it.
Yeah. Awesome. Progression to get into the yogi squat when you're not you're not flexible enough yet to get there.
Okay, so if you are not flexible enough to get into your yogi squat yet, there are a couple of things you can do. Number one is, first of all, you need range of motion in your knees. So if your knees are bad, this might be a pose that isn't even good for you, or a stretch that isn't good for you in terms of your hips. And maybe, because it is a really big hip opener, maybe something that would be better for you is like, you know, a side this way or a runner's lunge this way that's gonna open up those hips. But when you're getting into a yogi squat, the goal is to get the heels down, and I'm going to tell you something. It's a lot easier with shoes on than it is barefoot. I will get down in my yogi squat, no problem, in my shoes. But when I take off my shoes and teach yoga, I'm always humbled by, oh, it's an extra inch to get those heels down. And you know what happens is if your calves are too tight, this is going to be hard to get into. So one of the things you can do is stretch your calves to get better into a yogi squat. I don't know what it is that's limiting you. Is it your calves? Is it your hips? So stretching your calves, you can do on the side of a wall. You can do on a step. You can do in your where you dig your heels. I don't want my hands to slide here, but dig those heels down. So that's going to stretch the calf. Now, when you're getting down here, wider stance, and maybe only come this far, if this is what works for you. Maybe you hold on to something right here, like you have a stability ball or a step right here so that you can just kind of weigh yourself into it. Another thing you can do is put a step behind you. So if you take one of the aerobic steps that we use in step class and sit it behind you, you can sit on it and kind of ease your body into it and then just push off the step a little bit. But you do have to kind of work your way into it. And again, maybe you're right here. Maybe you're just in a plie and not all the way down. Wider stance, heels in, toes out. Work your way into it. But calves are truly sometimes the thing that is keeping people.
That's kind of the sticky point for people, and I don't think they realize it because you think it's so much of the hips.
Right.
But it's definitely that calf flexibility. How do you not fall over during a plank or a push-up to a twist? Arms and feet positions would be helpful.
Yep. Okay, you guys, I told you I wasn't going to wear a ponytail, but guess what?
She's doing it.
Woo! I'm getting hot in here. All right. It'll be okay. Okay, so say it again. Push-up, plank, and plank twist?
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, the wider your stance with your feet, the easier it will be to hold your balance. The closer your feet are, the smaller the base, the harder it is to balance. So when you're going into a push-up, I'm going to use my mat because my hands are sliding on this hardwood floor. So we'll just open this up. All right, so hands, feet. When my feet are together, this is harder to balance. When my feet are wider, I got a bigger base. It's going to be easier to balance in my plank or for my push-up. If your push-up is really difficult for you, we talk about this all the time. Drop to your knees, but keep that nice long spine so that you're getting stronger in your chest, or push your butt up in the air a little bit if you need to. Even here, you can push it up. So this would be like your level 1 push-up. This would be your level 2 push-up. And this would be a nice wide stance or narrow level 3 push-up. But that's how you're going to keep from falling over. Now, when it comes to a side plank, let's talk about that. Let me get all my hair in this hair holder. So much for the clean hair. Okay, wide stance again. So if your feet are narrow and you turn over to a side plank, I have a lot of balancing to do here. Core is strong, but I'm really balancing. If I keep my feet wider and I turn, now I've got a nice wide base. This is going to be a little easier for me to balance. Of course, this is still hard. Let me tell you, this is still hard. Another option, forearm. Come a little closer to the floor and turn from here. And then, of course, the last option is to put that bottom knee down so you get a little more stable base. So anytime you add more surface to the floor or a wider stance, you're going to be able to balance better.
Will you go over like hand positions with the shoulders, or whether you're on your forearms or your on your hands, where they are? Are they stacked?
For plank or for push-up?
For plank,
okay.
yeah.
Trying to keep my microphone on here. Okay, so you want your hands under your shoulders. So not too wide out here, not too narrow, not too far in or out, but you literally have your palms underneath, or your wrists underneath your shoulders. So I'm just going to come forward this way. Okay. So I'm right there. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see right here. You want to keep your shoulders away from your ears. So watch me here, shrinking into my shoulders. You see how I'm sinking into my neck, and that actually is really hard for me.
like, ouch.
So you want to, ooh, right there, push away from the floor. Use your strength of your chest. Same thing when you come down. Shoulders are over the elbows. Shoulders are away from the ears. So not this, but this. If you really think about it, a plank is a lot of chest.
Yep.
Push away, abs tight, nice long spine. And then, of course, drop to your knees if you need to and just work your way up.
Yeah. Awesome. We have Betsy asking if she could quickly go back to the kettlebells.
Yeah.
She said she really hurt her back a few years ago doing kettlebell swings. What did she do wrong?
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, depends on if your core is not super strong right now, you could be arching through the back, and that's going to be really hard. You got to stabilize this human girdle. I always call it the human girdle. It's your low abs called your transverse abdominis, deep inside of your body. It literally wraps around your body like a belt. And when it's tight, it not only flattens your abs, but it keeps everything in tight and really protects, that helps you to protect your low back. And of course, your back extensors need to fire also. So if you were overarching
Yep.
or too weak in your back, you maybe had too heavy of a kettlebell.
Yep.
And you maybe were coming too far down and too big of a range of motion. Remember, the handle should not go, the top of the horn should not go below the knees, and you actually are swinging it right in the crotch. Boom. Boom. And when I'm doing this, I am really thinking about keeping my core all right here,
Yep.
really stabilized and not bending through my low back. So your back should not be taking the brunt, your hamstrings and your glutes should.
Yeah, and I feel like at the top, I always think about squeezing my glutes just a little bit tighter to protect that lower
Oh yeah,
back.
you squeeze a quarter between your butt
Between your
cheeks.
butt cheeks. That's what I always say too.
Yeah.
Tricep dips often hurt shoulders and wrists. How do you prevent that from happening?
Yeah, it depends, of course. Again, as we age, we all have different things going inside our bodies. I had an orthopedic tell me one time, if he could look inside of every 40-year-old woman's spine or shoulder, everybody has wear and tear.
Yep.
Because we've been active or not active or had an injury and there's some scar tissue in there or whatever it is. So sometimes the act of a tricep dip, pulling your arms behind you, can be really hard. If you have a past shoulder injury
Yep.
and you feel pain, don't do dips. That's not a good exercise for you. Maybe you're better off with overheads or tricep kickbacks. You have to decide what feels good for you. There are a lot of people I see who say dips don't work
Yep.
for me. But if the dips work for you and it's just wrist strength, first of all, you want to make sure, and part of it again is how strong are you? If you're not strong, I'm going to grab a little bench here. Hold on. I'll grab one of our benches and bring it out just for demonstration's sake. You, of course, could use a chair that's higher up. But when you are doing your dip, if you're sinking into those wrists or your arms aren't strong enough to hold you up, it could be a toll on your wrist. And by the way, a lot of people do wrist strengthening exercises.
Yep.
Because for a lot of women, as they're aging, if you have osteoporosis, the wrist is an area that can really be affected, and you really want to keep that bone mass and you want to keep that range of motion and movement in there. But if your wrists really hurt you, I'll give you one more idea. But you got to get stronger in those biceps and triceps. So right there. But the other idea is to hold on to a weight. So instead of turning your hands this way, where there could be, I'll grab some weights and show you, where there's so much pressure on the wrist and you're bending it this way, I'm going to turn my hands this way so I can stay neutral
Yep.
in the wrist. So now my wrist is staying fairly neutral and it's not so much of a crunch on the wrist.
Yeah, I like that option.
I hope that helps. So instead of here, you're here.
Good. Back to the push-up. So you clarified where the hands are supposed to be, but I also know that you talk a lot about this during classes, during your live classes. Where are the position of your elbows?
Let's talk about it. My pet peeve. Sam knows this is my
She
pet peeve.
always talks about it.
I always talk about it because when I see a room full of 70 people and I see them doing their push-ups and their hands are here, but their elbows are here, just watch my neck when I let my elbows go out. I mean, you get so much scrunching, and what happens for so many people, including myself, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm having a birthday next month. I'm noticing like some stuff going on in my neck, and I know it's from age and movement and overuse and all of those things. But what you want to do is avoid this. A push-up is about the pectorals And then shoulders, triceps, and biceps are the helper muscle, mostly tricep. So if you can really focus on chest and tricep, you're gonna protect your shoulders. So first of all, none of this. You want those elbows to just fall behind you. So from the side view, they're falling behind me, and I'm using more tricep than people really want to use. Most people are weak in their triceps if they aren't exercising a lot, and so immediately they go to this and start using their neck. So it's falling just, you can see how much space I have between my rib cage and my elbow. It's not right next to you. Now, if you're doing a tricep push-up where it's basically the opposite of a dip, but it's over here, now your shoulder blades or your elbows are gonna stay right at your rib cage. Let me show you. I'll demonstrate a push-up over here. I'll do it on my bench. So here is a regular push-up. I'm just letting those elbows fall about 6 inches away from my rib cage, right there. Boom, all the way down, all the way up. And then if I want to do a tricep push-up, I'm actually going to drop to my knees because these are so hard.
Those are hard.
And I'm going to get those elbows right at my rib cage and pull back up. They are hard. And if you are feeling like, well, man, Chris, I can't do that, that's okay. Work your way into it.
Yep.
You want that range of motion. So if you have to put your butt in the air and you have to go like this or like this, that's okay. The stronger you get here, the longer you're gonna get your spine, drop your butt. And maybe you're gonna stay on your knees. That's okay. I talk to a lot of people.
I always do them on my knees.
Yeah, she always does them on her knees, and she's strong. I do them on my knees probably 60% of the time because of age and overuse. I do have a little bit of a shoulder issue that flares up every so often in my right shoulder, so I just have to be careful.
And it also activates your core too. If you let
Big
your
time.
core go, your back starts to arch. So it's like drop down to your knees, take that modification because it's a hard move.
It is.
So we talked a little bit about glute bridges. Can you go over those again, and then single leg glute bridge? How does that one kind of work? Where do your legs
Let's talk about it. So, and you can vary your glute bridge. There are a lot of ways to vary your glute bridge. I'm actually going to work the step into this again, because you could put your foot on a step, a chair, a stair. I love the stair idea. You could put it on a stability ball, which really gets that glute bridge fired up because the ball is unstable. But I'm going to put my feet on the top of the bench. You could put them on the floor if you wanted to. But in a good glute bridge, you're going to lift like a drawbridge. So your feet are flat. Your back is flat. Your abs are tight. And you're going to lift all the way up like a drawbridge so that from the knee to the shoulder, I'm trying to be in one line. I'm squeezing my glutes as tight as I can. I'm even using my legs here. But the beautiful thing is it's not overusing your knees. And of course, you use your core. Then you lower down, bend at the hips, lift up. So you're in one nice long line. Now, if we take our feet up higher, so I start on a higher step or chair or stability ball, that's even going to get higher, or harder, I should say, because it's a bigger range of motion. And then another way to make it harder is one leg. So I can take one leg off the ground. Now, all my body weight is in this other leg. I want to keep my hips steady east to west. I don't want to drop that hip. I want to keep it up, so I have to really work through my core, down and up. Down and up. Holy moly. Fire in the hamstring. Big time. And then maybe you do it on the other side. So single leg glute bridges are a fabulous lower body exercise.
Yeah.
They're really a fun thing, or I should say at least a doable thing to do, like when you're watching TV.
Yeah.
Get down on the floor. If you got kids around you or a dog, they will love it.
Awesome. Overhead tricep extensions. Is your head poking out forward, or do you stay in one straight line?
You have to be really careful. That's a good question.
I know, it was a good, I haven't heard that one before, but it's a very good question.
It's a great question. One thing you don't want to do is overtuck your chin, because then you're straining that neck. So let me grab some weights. We'll go with our 12s here.
She goes with the heavy weights.
All right, so here we go. I'm going to pull them up overhead. And what I'm going to try to do is maintain basically just my head looking forward. So I'm not jutting forward. I'm not tucking my chin. I'm just trying to stay neutral. Bring the weights all the way behind my shoulder, or to my shoulder blades, and then pull back up. So really what you're trying to do is keep a neutral position with your head. It should not jut forward. It should not I always remind my classes, do not over tuck the chin. Woo, feel those triceps. Long head of the tricep. That's a great tricep exercise.
It's a great tricep one. Okay. Okay, let's break down the pigeon pose and modifications and how to work up to that one.
Good
Great
idea.
question.
Pigeon pose is so great for the hips, but for some people it's amazing, and for other people it's not so amazing. So let me show you, here I come, a couple modifications. I'm going to turn, I think I might like this camera angle. Let's see what we think on an angle. So
Let me know if you want me to demo anything.
yeah, she's a dancer. So yeah, I could have you demo, but I want to show, because I've actually got a bad knee on my left side. So the pigeon pose on my left side is not quite as pretty as on my right. I want to explain that to you. So when you come into pigeon, you're going to bend one knee in the front here. Actually, I'll turn it this way so you can see, and then I'll have Sam do it. And you can see what it really should look like. So for me, in pigeon pose, you can see my leg is on an angle. Because for me to put my leg all the way out here on this straight line and then push back up into my hips, I will either break my hip or break my kneecap.
Not good.
One of the two. My flexibility is not there. So for me, I modify by pulling my leg in.
Yep.
I've been in a yoga class before where the teacher has come and held someone's foot right here and said, get up on your hips. Absolutely not. That is the most dangerous thing I've ever seen, because
Yep.
for me right here, I don't have the flexibility to do it. Now, one thing we could do, and we don't have a yoga block in here, do we? Would you grab me a mat?
Yep.
One of the modifications that I teach in yoga for pigeon is to get a yoga block or a mat under this hip. So now I've got some support here. And if it's not easy for me to even out, your goal is to even the body weight out in those hips, I have that little support under this leg. And of course, for me, my leg isn't going out this direction. And on this side, it's even worse, because my left knee has some issues on my inside meniscus. So this leg, I just get a less range of motion. Another modification, we'll have Sam come down here, but another modification is what we call cradle the baby, and it's basically pigeon pose on your back.
Yep, that's a
So
good
what
one.
you do is you take your knee here. Now for some people, they can cradle the baby all the way, right here, and lean back. I can do this right here, but to lean back, let's see what happens. I get about right here, and I can't lay down. So what do? I release, and I come here, and it's upside down pigeon. You want to get into pigeon and see what your pigeon looks like
See how good it is anymore.
from a dancer?
Haven't danced in a while, but
Yeah, so she can get her leg out on that angle. And that's fantastic, because she's a dancer and she's also young. So this is a really good concept for saying, listen to your body.
yes, absolutely.
You do you. Because if you look around the room or you're next to somebody like Sam in yoga and you're looking and you're going, well, she's super flexible and oh my God, she can do this and she can do that. Do what your body is allowing you to do. Pigeon pose is something I've been working on, pigeon pose and reverse tabletop,
Yep.
which we just talked about on Instagram, because they're both difficult for me, but one opens the front of your body, one opens your hips, and I need to work on them. So.
And it's definitely one of those things that I feel like change day after day. If I'm
Yeah.
super tight, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. If it's a really hard workout class, we're doing a lot on the hips and stuff, mine start to tighten up. So it's like you kind of have to work your way into it, make sure you're stretching after your workouts,
Yep.
because when I don't,
Yep.
I can definitely tell.
Oh, yeah.
What are some good ab exercises that don't require weight bearing? She's got a broken wrist. What do you do for
Well, there's
ab
so many
exercises?
things you could do. I mean, obviously, the plank is not going to be your best exercise. A forearm plank where you're not putting any, and again, I don't know, it depends on like how broken your wrist actually is or was, or what your
Yep.
recovery is. Thank you.
Yep.
So we'll come this way, again, talking about a plank. If you can come into your forearm plank without putting any stress on that wrist, you can probably do a lot of different core things in a plank. Maybe you can come into a side plank, again, not putting any pressure on that wrist. But of course, you can go back to some of the basics. I'm going to move my microphone a little bit. Hold on, everybody. Wow, I was cold when I walked in this studio, and again, it goes back to the whole thing of just move your body, because I am sweating just from doing this. All right, so you don't need your arms to roll up. You can come in a sit-up right here, roll up one vertebrae at a time all the way up. No using the hands. You can put them behind you. There's so many different variations of core work where you do not need your wrists. So anytime you're in what we call a supine position, laying on your back, you're going to have no trouble. In the prone position, on your front, you're just going to have to do everything in the forearm position or skip it until you've healed.
Going along with ab work, we have somebody saying that she doesn't feel her abs engage a lot when she does core. Is she not working hard enough? How do you engage those muscles?
Well, Pilates would be it would be smart to take a basic Pilates course so you can get in touch with what's going on in your abs. We have a mat Pilates 1, 2, and 3. They are gold workouts on Get Healthy UTV. I taught mat Pilates 1, and I believe Kate did 1, 2, and 3. Yep. But here's the thing. You've got your rectus abdominis, which is what we call the long muscle right here. We call it the crunching muscle, like when someone hits you in the gut up here. All right, then you have your obliques, which are your twisting muscles, which allow for everyday activity because we use so many planes of motion throughout our day. And then you have the transverse abdominis, which is that muscle I was just talking about that wraps around your body like a belt, and you want to tighten it a few notches. So when you're first trying to find those abs, when I used to teach a lot of mat Pilates classes, we would literally spend the first week, the first 45-minute class, just finding our abs and breathing. So don't feel, upset with, where you're at. Everybody starts there. So what I would have everyone do is lay down and then put their hands where you would zip up your jeans and cough. You find that muscle. It's deep in there. Now, maybe you have a lot of upholstery over the top. A lot of people will say, wait, there's too much upholstery. I can't find it. It's in there, I promise you. So once you find that muscle, you learn to breathe. You inhale, and on the exhale, it's like you're zipping a pair of jeans that came out of the dryer and shrunk. You pull in that muscle, and then inhale and exhale. And we start that first Pilates class with our hands on our abdominals. And we do a lot of our imprinting and a lot of our lifting right here, all with our hand on our abs so we can make sure our transverse abdominis is engaging. Then, once we get that, that's when I will usually have them inhale, exhale, find that imprint and find that muscle, and then lift one leg one at a time, and then lift the other leg. Make sure that this is engaged. If this is not engaged, you might be using your low back to hold you up. Yep. So it's really important that you go through those steps to find that transverse abdominis. I remember in particular, a gal who was coming to my Pilates class for, I can't remember how many weeks or what it was, but one day she came up afterwards and she's like, I found my abs today. It's taken this long, but I found them. They're there because maybe they're just not strong enough yet. So hang in there and check out Mat Pilates 1. We go through the basics of Pilates in that class.
Going along with some of your regular core exercises, any floor exercises that require rolling up or sit-ups really hurt her lower back. What can you replace those with? Obviously, working up to those, digging your back into the ground. Are there any other options?
Okay, so why do they hurt your low back would be a question. Do you have chronic low back pain? Is it because your back is weak and your abs are weak and you just can't get that roll through and roll up? Or is it because you seriously have chronic pain in your low back? That's a different kind of a problem. If you're working to strengthen your abs, one of the things you can do is take your resistance band around your feet and use that resistance band to help you roll back up. Mm-hmm. So is that a good visual, or should I go grab a band? Can you figure that out? Let me see if I have a band really quick. Who knew I was going to need all these tools today? Here we go. I've got one. Okay. Here we go. I'll show you with the band. So if it is a case of weak abdominal muscles, you're going to use this band. And by the way, anytime you have a band underneath your feet, make sure it's secure and it doesn't come up and hit you in the eye. Yes. All right, so here we are rolling up, but this is giving me the assistance where I can really focus again. Is that muscle firing? You inhale, exhale, pull it. All right, so you need to probably work on strength. Now, if it's hurting because of chronic pain, that is a whole nother issue. That's something I was suffering from about 5 years ago based on a degenerated disc I have between my L4 and L5, and all the muscles in my back were cramping up and trying to hold that injured spot in place. We have a 10-minute free low back pain video on Get Healthy UTV. Maybe we can add the link to this
we can do that
series
after.
later.
Yep.
But it is a link that I show you how to use a massage ball. It's about the size of a tennis ball, but it's a little firmer than a tennis ball. And I show you how to lay on it and start to release those muscles behind you. So 5 years ago, I was having all this pain. I couldn't roll up either. I couldn't do a burpee. It really, really hurt. So it wasn't weak abs. It was pain. So I want you to distinguish between the two. But I realized that I needed to take self-care into my own hands. I don't have time to go to physical therapy 4 times a week, not to mention that I already know how to do it myself. So I started stretching every morning with this massage ball. I started using infrared heat, me personally, and my back pain, after a couple months of just being very consistent, went away. And now 5 years later, I still do it every single morning, only for about 5 minutes, but I do, and my back pain has gone away, and I can roll up with no problem. I can do burpees. So you do need to distinguish, is it weak abs or chronic back pain? Because you kind of have to handle them differently.
Awesome. What exercises or stretches are best for chronic sciatica nerve pain?
Oh, sciatica nerve pain. That can be tough.
That's a tough one. Yep.
Because, again, sometimes it gets into using a massager, like
You got to kind of get in
even,
there.
like Sam and I have a handheld massager
Yep.
where it kind of like, it's like a brrrr, and it gets into that fascia and can help to relieve some of the tension in there. But sciatica is nerve related.
Yep.
So it's not only do you have a tight muscle,
Right.
but there's some nerve things going on, and it could be happening somewhere within your discs. We do have a blog all about sciatica. As a dancer, are there certain stretches that you guys do?
Not a ton for that. I mean, just kind of like a pigeon one, but again,
Pigeon
that
is
can
good for
really,
sciatica.
yeah, that can really get in there. I feel like the other one that you could do is similar to what you were describing, is bringing one knee over.
Yep.
And you might not be able to sit down all the way. You might have to kind of use your upper body. But the closer you can not lean backwards, but lean forward and kind of push
Look
yourself
how far
up.
she can push herself forward. I
I
love
know.
it. So stay right there. I'll come down and join you. So I do this at the end of every class. Now, I can't get my chest quite as far up as she can, but I can really, really feel this. Also a seated twist. So we can come from here to here and pull that leg in. Ooh, baby, this feels good today.
I know, this feels good.
And then you're going to feel it all the way up here. So again, sciatica being nerve related, do your stretches, but you might want to, this is my personal opinion, I'm not a doctor, but consult a chiropractor.
Yep.
Because a lot of times something might be just out of whack
Yep.
from a nerve standpoint. And or do what I was talking about with that massage ball and start to get in to some of that deep tissue.
Yeah, when you get deep in there, it can really relieve some of that pain. So.
Right.
There is a question about biceps. Let me find it really quick. When trying to use heavier weights for biceps, she feels a strain creep up in her traps and her neck. Why is that happening?
Because it's probably too heavy. Your biceps aren't strong enough yet. Because anytime we're doing any upper body exercise and we feel like it's too much, we pull into our traps and our neck. So you want to really keep your shoulders away from your ears, and you want to challenge yourself to the point of fatigue. But, if you start to pull into your neck, then you lower your weight. So for me, when I'm really focusing on drawing my shoulders away from my ears. I'm really thinking about a long neck right now. That's why I say strength training is a mind-body connection.
It really is.
And then if it gets to be too much and I notice I'm doing this, I lower the weights or I stop.
Yep.
Because you're not alone. I mean, that's what everybody does, is the minute it gets to be too much for the isolated muscle group, we pull into our neck and our traps. So you have to really be thoughtful while you're doing it.
And I think the one thing that you do a really good job in her live class on Wednesdays, maybe slow down that pace a little bit. If you're trying to keep up all the time, you can really start to scrunch. So slowing it down a little bit, or half range of motion.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
If you are doing a Get Healthy UTV workout and we're moving too fast, we say it a lot out loud, is just slow it down. Because again, #you do you. If I'm doing But this, or, I always joke, Lindsay and Shelly, they go so fast. I'm always like, oh, I need to go slower. Slow it down, that's okay. Instead of doing 20 reps, you do 12 at your pace so that you're not, using the wrong muscle group to try to go at a faster pace. So I like that idea.
Let's see. How do you do back exercise? And I'm not quite sure which back exercises they're asking about, so that they don't become shoulder exercises.
Kind of the same idea, not allowing your traps to get into the same, to get into it. So when you're rowing, if it's too heavy, you're pulling those shoulders towards your ears. Always think depressed and retracted. A lot of times I will start my strength training classes off by saying up, back, and down. Slide your shoulder blades into the back pocket of your blue jeans. So now I'm depressed and retracted, and I can really focus on the muscle. If you start the exercise here, now this is going to be my natural reaction if it's too heavy. When I see people in class with that rounded upper back, I literally am like, okay, stop, stop, stop. I make them stand up. I make them pull those shoulders up, back, and down, and then come forward. You kind of have to puff your chest out like you're proud right there. So same thing, keep those shoulders and neck out of it. And if it gets to be too much, you either stop or you lower the weights.
Inchworm and downward dog modifications, especially for people with tight hamstrings, someone who is not flexible.
Okay, so inchworm, they probably mean like walking out and coming back. Yeah, so she's a lot more flexible than I am in a down dog. Hers is going to look a little different than mine. So is it hamstring flexibility?
Hamstring flexibility, yeah.
So, my heels, look at my heels. They're up. Now, if I push them down, oh, baby, I feel it not only in my calves, but my hamstrings, for sure. I'm trying to push my shoulder blades through to my thighs, but if that's too much, let up a little bit. Maybe take your feet a little wider. The closer you bring them in, the more, stress there's going to be on the hamstrings, so you can move them back a little bit. Same thing with inchworm. If you're inching back and your hamstrings are too tight, bend your knees. Now, when I bend my knees, I'm taking some of the stress off my hamstrings, versus if I keep my hamstrings straight, that's a lot more stress on my hamstrings. So typically, it really is a lot of science. Fitness is science.
Yep.
It's about, bend this muscle, bend this joint, and then that muscle will not be under so much strain. We think about it, most of our joints are hinges. So wrists, knees, ankles, they're hinges. Our shoulders and hips are ball and socket. They're a little more complicated.
Yep.
So you have to really treat them carefully, because there's circumduction going on in hips and shoulders, and then most everything else is a hinge.
Yep.
We are just complicated people, aren't we?
We are.
Oh, wouldn't you know my phone is ringing? Turn that off for now.
Okay, so a few questions here. Wondering how to push through a high heart rate. So if you're doing a workout, heart rate is super high. Should you continue or slow down a little bit? Sometimes she presses pause to just kind of catch her breath. Is that okay, or are you kind of sabotaging that progress?
Well, both you and I can both talk to this. Mm-hmm. So I would say for heart rate. So one of the things I love about having a device is you really have a lot of feedback. Sometimes if you don't know where your heart rate is, you're thinking, is my heart rate super high, or am I just tired, or am I dehydrated? But you can really see what's going on with that number when you're looking at your whatever device that you're possibly wearing. Yep. So for me, I've noticed as I've gotten older that it's harder for me to sustain high heart rates for a long period of time. And I do push pause. I do tailor it back. That's why I really love high intensity intervals, because it's work and then rest, and work and then rest. And if I need a little extra rest, I just take it.
Yep.
And you'll know if you're starting to feel lightheaded, or you're starting to feel that feeling of like you're losing your hearing, or you feel like so exasperated. Absolutely tailor it back. But I think the most important thing is don't compare your heart rate to someone else.
Yeah.
Because lots of things affect it. It can be your sleep from the night before. I notice that when I'm sleep deprived, I can't get my heart rate up as high, or I just don't feel that good when it's up there.
Yep.
As I've gotten older, my stamina has changed. Now, That doesn't mean it has to. I mean, if you're like an endurance athlete and you run all the time, maybe your stamina has never changed. So, you know, you're kind of in control of that. A lot of people have smaller hearts and they just beat faster. I know a lot of people who I talk to in group fitness classes whose heart rate, someone might say, oh my gosh, my heart rate was 180 today. And someone else might say it was 140, and they were both really working hard.
Yep.
So genetics, in terms of the size of your heart and the way it beats, plays a lot into it. So I think the most important thing is own your own heart rate. Get to know it. That's why I love the device. I know that when I'm in the 140s and the 150s, I'm really, really pushing.
Yep.
I know that for me, like the 130s is kind of a really good spot. Although I sometimes, you know, do my cardio in the 140s.
Yeah.
But it just depends on the day. How about for you?
I think something that, like, I love the device, and knowing your body is super important, because, like, know where your resting heart rate is. Like, I remember when I was training super hard and I thought, like, during a HIIT workout, my heart rate should be at like 170.
Oh my
I'd
goodness.
probably be in cardiac arrest, because knowing me, like, my heart rate is super low. It's just genetic. That's how all of my family is. So I sit like it's like around a 46. So me
Wow.
getting up that high is not good, right? So you kind of have to know, but definitely, I mean, I'll pull back, you know, from time to time. And again, if you're feeling like lightheaded, slow down a little bit. Maybe take, like, instead of doing jump squats, like, you know, if Chris is still going over there and I'm like, not happening for me today, like, take it and just do squats for a second, and then you can come right back to it. You know?
And the secret for most of us instructors is that we laugh, is that when we're teaching a class, we do skip a few of the reps.
We do.
Because we have to stop and coach you and get you going, and that's kind of our secret little rest time. When I take a class, I'm always like, holy moly, I did every rep and I'm about to die.
Yep.
So, you know, really give yourself some grace. And if you feel like you're at that point where, uh-oh, I need a little bit of rest, take it, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, how many, so these aren't all modifications, tips, and stuff like that anymore. How many minutes a week should you be getting of cardio, and how many of strength training?
That's a great question.
Yes.
So the CDC sets the guidelines for activity for adults. I mean, I'm not sure I totally agree with that being the right
Yep.
group of people to set the guidelines, but they do review it about every, I want to say it's about every 8 years,
Yep.
5 to 8 years. But currently the CDC says 150 minutes of heart pumping exercise a week, whenever, however you can do it. That's basically brisk walking, getting your heart rate into that comfortable zone where you're breathing through your mouth, 150 minutes. And then they say, if you're going to push yourself and do high intensity training, and your heart rate is in those places that us crazy Get Healthy UTV members put our heart rate, you need 75 minutes a week. So you literally cut it in half if you're doing higher intensity cardio. That's for a week. So 150 minutes of moderate intensity is 2.5 hours a week. So maybe it's 10 minutes on Monday. Maybe you do a 40-minute workout on Tuesday. Maybe, you know, you skip Wednesday and then you do an hour on Thursday. You divide it how it works for your body and your lifestyle.
Yep.
And you try to get that in. So we do a lot of high intensity cardio. So we way exceed the cardio limit, and that's for heart health. And I'm always trying to remind people that, like, listen, everybody has a heart. I don't even care if you're not trying to lose weight. You should be getting your heart rate up for sheer heart health. It's not just about weight loss. So that's number one. Number two, the CDC recommends 2 full total body strength training sessions a week, and they give 0 guidelines. They don't say how long. They don't say what you should be doing. They literally say with any kind of added resistance or body weight, and they say use all your muscles twice a week. Again, the CDC used to have such strict guidelines that guess what Americans said?
No thanks.
No thanks, I'm not gonna do that, that's too hard. So they got smart and said, hey, let's let people live their lives and figure out how to do it. So if you did 2 Get Healthy UTV workouts a week that were total body, you are above the cut. If you're doing more than that, you can give yourself a gold star for really being in the top 5% of humans. Now, people always say, well, can I combine my strength and cardio into one?
Yep.
Yes, it's called multitasking. So if you are doing high intensity interval training or circuits, we tend to do a lot of that at Get Healthy UTV because we know it works.
Yep.
And so you're doing, you know, squat curl presses, and we've got those going on, and then we put the weights down and we're doing some of this, and then we pick them back up and we're lunging with bicep curls, and then we're doing cardio. That counts for both. That can be a total body workout plus a cardiovascular experience. So I love the concept of multitasking because I don't always have the time
Right.
to divide them, but some weeks I do. So again, you know, make it work in your schedule. We are getting close to the end here.
We do. So not a ton of questions, but we do have quite a few people who came on here that said they love your yin and yoga
yin
that
and
are
flow.
great. Yes, yin and yang yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we call it flow and yin or yin and flow, but yes, I know what they're talking about. Yeah.
But they're saying that's a really good one for knees. Like she feels like her knees are really good the next day, so that might be one to check out for people.
Excellent. I love Flow and Yin. I think it's called Flow and Yin 1. That's a gold workout. It was 30 minutes, I think. So we did like 15 minutes of flowing and then 15 minutes of Yin, which is holding. So good for strengthening joints.
Yep.
You know, again, to do a little bit of isometric every week, which means holding, is really, really good. Flow and Yin 2 was 45 minutes. That was a killer. That was a lot of holding. I think if I went back and did it again, if I repeat those workouts, I'm going to do number 1.
Yeah, don't underestimate just holding those
It's
poses.
hard. It is really hard.
We also have a few people commenting how much they love the split workouts that we've been doing.
Good.
So might have to bring some more of those in.
Yeah, and we could. So those of you who are Get Healthy UTV members, we listen to you. We have so much conversation in our private Facebook group. If you are a member, please join the Facebook group. And we had a lot of members saying, hey, I do a lot of cardio on my own. We have a bunch of runners.
Yep.
We have a bunch of walkers, cyclists. And they said, I got the cardio down. I was just saying I like to combine them. These people are doing their own cardio, but I want just strength. And I want to divide my body up through the week, kind of like the old fashioned, but that doesn't mean it's not good. It's good, but it's the old fashioned idea of do these 2 body parts this day, do these 2 muscle groups this day, do your legs this day, dividing it up. So we've created these split day training sessions. We're getting a lot of great feedback about it.
Yep.
We also have a program called Serious Strength, which is just that, strength, no jumping, no cardio, and that's divided to upper, lower, core, and total.
Yep.
So that one, and then we have a program called Definitions. And then we're adding a lot of 10-minute split days.
Yep.
So we got a lot of options for you out there. If you are a Get Healthy UTV member, check out the 10-minute split days too. Those are pretty good.
We are at 2:00.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh my gosh. All right. You guys are awesome. We love answering your questions. We will be back, once a month. We come live. We are following a new calendar together for the month of October called LIFT.
Yep.
Low impact functional training. If you are a Get Healthy UTV member, get ready. Join the Facebook group to follow it along with us. And a lot of people go rogue.
Yes.
I mean, they'll say, hey, today I felt like doing this workout. But our kind of joke is if you're going to go rogue, tell us about it because we're nosy. We like to know.
We like to know.
If you want to join Get Healthy UTV, we do have a code for you, Chris Gold 20, CHRIS Gold 20, and you can join for $20 for the first year. Check it out. Work out with Sam and I and all the other trainers.
Yeah.
We would absolutely love it. Thank you for your time and attention today. We hope we answered your questions. We will be back with you again next month. We'll be in the Facebook group every single day.
Yep.
We'll be live for you here every Monday. So stay tuned, everybody. Appreciate your time. Talk to you later.
Bye.